enjoy the meal and also the poster presentations. This session features internationalization in higher education. It's an important topic both locally and globally. We have 3 guest speakers today from Japan, Singapore, and Taiwan. So without further ado, please welcome our first keynote speaker, Professor Yujin Yaguchi. Professor Yaguchi is the Vice President of the University of Tokyo. He is also the Director of Center for Global Education. Professor Yaguchi.
Good afternoon. It's wonderful to be here. I'm a scholar of U.S. American history. So I used to only go to the United States, but after assuming the position of Director for Center for Global Education and getting involved in global education at the University of Tokyo, I began traveling all over the world and decided Taiwan is my favorite destination. I love coming here to this Taiwan, Taipei, and NTU. So I'm very, very happy to be here this afternoon. Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm not quite sure about the nature of the audience, actually. And I'm wondering, maybe there are some students here, some professionals here, maybe professors here. So I don't know whether my talk is going to be interesting to you, but I shall do my best. So I'm going to talk about how we are trying to cultivate a global outlook among the students at the University of Tokyo. And if those of you who were in the morning session, my talk is going to be kind of a continuation of what my colleague, Dr. Professor Kaori Hayashi, who's our Executive Vice President, talked about. So she talked about larger ideas. I'm just going to give you specific examples of what we do, because I work very closely with her. She is actually my boss. I'm happy to have her as a boss, and we work in a very good team. So she has this grand vision, and I implement the program. So let me introduce to you some of the programs that we have. But before that, very quickly about the University of Tokyo, I think we're about the size of NTU, about 29,000 students, 11,000 staff. Of the 29,000 students, half are undergraduate students, half are graduate students. It's about 50-50. And we have not a very good male-female ratio. This is something that my colleague Hayashi Sensei talked about. We have over, just about, I said over, but it's just about 5,000 international students now. But most of them are graduate students, MA, PhD students. And 65% of them come from China. We have 10 undergraduate faculties in college, 15 graduate schools, and we say we don't care about the world ranking, but we do. This is QS, but we really care about THE ranking. I think at THE we're 29, 28 this year. So, and we have a policy under our President Dr. Teruo Fuji issued a statement of a series of policies called U-Tokyo Compass when she assumed presidency in 2021. And this is an excerpt of areas that are related to globalization. We want to foster a new generation of individuals equipped with a wealth of experience in engaging with diverse value systems, with an international outlook, and with a capacity for empathy. So we want to provide students, including international students and other peers of highly diverse backgrounds, spaces to learn together. So it's a series of policy statements, but the areas that are related to international are these statements. Under this larger policy, we have some specific goals, including we want to have 3,200 outbound students by year 2027, which is a modest goal, I understand, but given the low number that we've had, this is a fairly ambitious goal. 23 inbound students. Now, when I talk about inbound and outbound, I'm talking about students who come on a shorter exchange rather than a degree seeking. In terms of degree seeking, as I said, we have about 5,000 students who are there to get their MA and PhDs, but I'm talking about global mobility on a short-term basis. Number of full-time international students at the University of Tokyo, it's been on a steady increase, so that's kind of good news. Although in terms of diversity of students, international students, this is something that we need to work on. Most of them, 87% of them come from Asia. And as I said, 65% of them come from China. And as Professor Hayashi said, we have not been able to attract students from Taiwan very much. And this is an area that we're very concerned about, and we want to have more students from Taiwan. I've had a student from Taiwan before and have had a great time with her, and we want more of them in the future. But right now it's predominantly Asian. Trends in student mobility, it's been on the steady, it was on the steady increase. This is during COVID, it went down, and now it's up again, but we can do better. As I said, we're an institution of 29,000 students, and this is just, when I talk about outbound, this includes students who go abroad for 1 week, right, to 1 year. So it's 2,000 students out of 30,000 students going for a very short exchange, including very short exchange. We can do much better. So this is the area. These numbers are one thing, but in reality, my job is to really implement different kinds of programs that would enable our students to have different types of outbound experience, something that Professor Hayashi said. We want to have kind of a hop, step, jump. We want to start small so that they will end up going longer. Inbound as well, we know some of the students want to come to us for a degree, or some of the students want to come for a semester or a year, but we also want to make it possible for some students to come for a month or a week. So we want to provide a range of programs. But before I go into the specifics, we do have some English degree programs, as I said, and most of them are in graduate programs. So the majority of students from abroad come into these graduate programs, and mostly in STEM area, mostly in engineering, predominantly in engineering and sciences. Some in social sciences, including Professor Hayashi's course. There is quite a few number of international students here, but mostly engineering areas. Our undergraduate English medium degree program is very small. We take about 30 students per year out of 3,000, so it's very, very small. We want to increase that a tiny bit in 2027 as we are trying to establish a new college called the College of Design, which is a bit like your D school. And we want to have a variety of more English medium programs. In terms of exchange programs, we have with more than 80 partners throughout the world. NTU is a very important partner. All the students who come to the University of Tokyo for exchange program for a semester or a year belong to the Center for Global Education. So technically I'm looking after your students, but they don't need to be looked after because usually they're very good and they don't cause any trouble. I don't get to meet with the students unless they cause trouble, right? But it's been very nice to have NTU as a partner, and we've been sending some students to NTU, and we want to be able to send more. At the department level, each department has its own partnership, and they have more than 250. And for short-term programs, I'll talk a little bit more about this, but we're trying to develop a different range of short-term programs. But why global? Why do we have to create a global campus? This is a question I think that was asked earlier in the morning session, but I want to go back to this fundamental question because maybe your answer is different from ours. But let me give you our answer. We want to create a global campus because we want to enhance more diversity on campus, more inclusion on campus. Oops. Oh, I was going to write equity, sorry. Diversity, inclusion, and equity on campus. Really, fundamentally, making a global campus really means creating a diverse campus, student of diverse population. Because at the University of Tokyo, as has already been mentioned earlier, our student body is increasingly lacking in diversity at the University of Tokyo. And in terms of gender, nationality, region, social background, it's becoming increasingly uniform at our institution. I don't know how it is at NTU, but this is an issue with us. We're at the undergraduate student population, not the graduate level, but undergraduate student population. We're 98% Japanese nationals, 98% percent Japanese. Almost entirely Japanese speaking, that is, those who come through Japanese speaking high schools. So their first language is Japanese. 80% men, this has already been talked about. Astoundingly, this has not changed in the last 20 years. It's not only increased, it's plateaued in the last 20 years. This is a big problem. 65% come from Greater Tokyo area. Really, Greater Tokyo. Plus metropolitan areas like Nagoya. I'm sorry, this needs to be A. I'm sorry, Hayashi-sensei. She's from Nagoya. I misspelled her city. It's Nagoya and Osaka. So most of the students come from large cities, metropolitan cities. And most of the students come from very, very selective high schools. Very few high schools. So 10 high schools represent 25% of our student population. We have 5,000 high schools in Japan, and 10 high schools occupy 25% of the University of Tokyo population. 20 high schools occupy 35% of the University of Tokyo population. So you really have to go to a particular selective high school in Tokyo or Osaka or Nagoya to be able to pass the entrance exam for our university. And this is increasingly so over the years. It's becoming more and more so. And this means, what this means is, and most of these private secondary schools are private. What this means is that they come from an urban, professional, solidly middle to upper middle class, white collar parents, usually professional father, and generally a mother who's a housewife, full-time housewife, or maybe part-time workers, nuclear family, and very educated families. So this is the trend at our school. Faculty also needs more diversity. Most of the faculty members are men like me, Japanese men like me. If you come to our campus, they all look like me. So Professor Hayashi really stands out, and this is why we value her so much, because the rest are just like me. And faculty members, many of them are graduates of the University of Tokyo, have had a very similar education, have come from a very similar background. So I'm not criticizing any of the students or any of my colleagues. They're wonderful people. But when you think about the University of Tokyo as a whole, it's really lacking in diversity. And this is a problem discussed earlier in the book like Matthew Said. We have a cluster of elites with incredibly similar backgrounds. So we really need to create every opportunity possible to critically make it possible for students and faculty members to critically reflect on their social standing and cultivate the ability to embrace differences. And this is becoming very important in this age. I don't need to talk about this, right? I mean, in this age of all kinds of different values coming together, clashing at times, and generating tragic results, we need to be able to create a campus where we can have a constructive dialogue across cultures and values. And the university's mission is that. And we're at a disadvantage. So on one hand, we need to create a system where we can attract more diverse set of students coming into the university. But with the existing university population, we're not going to kick anyone out. All right. So what we need to do is to bring in more students of different backgrounds and also provide our students off campus the kind of experience that they're not able to have. So we established Center for Global Education. We call it GLOBE, and this was the initiative of our president, President Fuji, and Executive Vice President Hayashi. As a comprehensive platform for global education, we established this in 2023, and we wanted to kind of make ourselves as a global education concierge, like hotel concierge. You can go to the hotel concierge and ask, "Oh, I want to go to this restaurant," or "I want to, go to this museum. Can you tell me?" So we wanted to be like a one-stop service to all the students who wanted to have global experience. So we call ourselves Global Educational Concierge and really serve all the undergraduate students across faculties and graduate students too. Graduate students are welcome, but so students of all faculties, so that they can cultivate a global outlook, and so that they will be able to critically reflect on their social positions and learn how to embrace differences. For that matter, we do a variety of things, including offer EMI courses, English Medium Instruction courses, and other non-Japanese language courses, including Chinese. We also accept a range of inbound and students. We also send students through our exchange program. And we have a range of on-campus programs that cultivate the global outlook of our students. And our faculty members, we're a small center, but including people on contracts, is 70% non-Japanese, which is rare at the University of Tokyo because most of the faculty members are Japanese. And our center is almost 50% female faculty. So we're making contribution, I should say, all right, to the university. So we're deliberately trying to position ourselves as a different kind of entity within the university to present ourselves as the future of what the University of Tokyo should look like. So the rest of the time, I'm just going to show you very quick examples of what we do. One of the things that we do is to offer courses called Global Liberal Arts courses. This is EMI, English Medium Instruction courses offered entirely in English. We do this because the majority of courses that we offer at the University of Tokyo are in Japanese. Graduate programs different, but the majority of courses that we offer are in Japanese. So we wanted to increase the number of courses that we offer in English, and these are all related to the SDG topics, and students of all disciplines are welcome. And exchange students, those coming from NTU included, are welcome to join this course and study with our own students. So they will focus on one of the 17 SDG goals, or maybe 2 or 3 of them, and learn in English in an active learning style. Discuss with students of different backgrounds. It's a small class, so students coming from Tokyo area get to know students from Taiwan, Singapore, Malaysia, US, or Europe, or whatnot. So this is one example of the small things that we do. We also are developing what we call a global leadership course to empower a new generation of global leaders. And this is a project that we are pursuing with the Minerva Project. I don't know if you have ever heard of Minerva University in the United States, which is kind of a partly online innovative universities. So Minerva Project is an offshoot of Minerva University. So we're the first institution in Japan to collaborate with the Minerva Project. And they offer very interesting leadership courses. So we just launched the first Minerva course this fall. And so global leadership courses will consist of Minerva courses plus a global experience, that is study abroad experience or some kind of global experience, and a capstone project. And we're aiming for 300 students to do this every year. We also offer summer courses. Those of you who are students here, you're more than welcome to come to us through the exchange program, or this is for fee summer courses that we offer to international students, taught entirely by the University of Tokyo faculty. And we offer courses in the STEM fields, to humanities, social sciences. We do this partly for revenue generating purpose, of course, but also really the important purpose is to create this as a path to our graduate program, introduction to our graduate program. We want them to come for a short period of time and experience what it is like to study with us at the University of Tokyo on our campus. And if you like it, maybe you will want to come to our graduate program. And so, and by attracting good students through this to our graduate program, we want to have a range of international students on our campus. So we offer about 15 right now. We want to make it to 30 courses with 600 students in the near future. We also have U-Tokyo Dialogue for our students. This is a series that we do. This is a really fun series that we do at our center. So we bring in prominent people from all over the world and have them sit with our president, him, and our executive vice president, her, and they engage in dialogue. So this is like Louise Richardson, former vice chancellor of Oxford University, currently the director of the Carnegie Corporation. This is Cynthia Friend, who is the director of the Kavli Foundation, which is a very, very well-known nonprofit philanthropic organization in the United States. This is Ambassador C.B. George representing India and Japan. India has become a very important partner for many Japanese companies. So we're going to bring Ambassador George. This is Izumi Nakamitsu, who is a Japanese woman who is the Undersecretary for the United Nations, the top 2 position in the United Nations. So we bring in these people and have them talk to them for about 20 minutes, 30 minutes, and the rest is open for question and answer for all our students, undergraduate students, and they can directly ask questions to these people as well as to our top management people. And this has been an enormously popular series that we do at the University of Tokyo, to be able to ask questions when you're 18 or 19 to the former president of Oxford University is kind of an amazing experience for our students. And also what we're doing is we're really trying to cultivate partnerships with schools across the world, including, of course, NTU. NTU is a very, very important partner for us. At the same time, we're trying to create new kind of collaboration and programs with schools in what's often termed as the Global South. Now, Global South is a problematic term. I'm a cultural studies scholar, so I'm not quite sure if Global South is the right phrase, but let's just call it Global South now. So we are trying to create programs with schools in South Asia, for example, India, Bangladesh, Africa, the Middle East, and those areas where we traditionally did not have much of a relationship, or where students would not want to, or would not think about going. Our students want to go to North America, U.S., Canada, Western Europe, UK, France, and Germany, but not to India, not to Bangladesh. We're trying to shift their outlook. They can go to the U.S., of course, if they want to. I'm a U.S. studies scholar. I'm not going to stop them from going to U.S., but we really want to direct their attention to these regions. And so we started a program, for example, with a school in Bangladesh called Asian University for Women. It's a women's college. in Chittagong, Bangladesh. It's a new college. It's very small. It's a school that attracts students who of very challenging backgrounds in terms of their family income, for example. Some of them are refugees. So they get a lot of students from Myanmar, Afghanistan, Syria. They're also getting students from Gaza right now. So the kind of students that are in many ways diametrically opposed to our students, who are men coming from urban background, very comfortable. They never thought about, well, if they want to buy a book, yeah, they'll buy a book or books. If they want to study English, they go to, English language schools or whatever. So diametrically opposed, and we make them study together in Tokyo as well as in Bangladesh for a short period of time, and that's supported by the garment industry company Uniqlo. Has been supporting us with this project, but it's an eye-opening experience for both students, for our students as well as them. And we made them study issues like immigration issues, refugee issues. It's been a very interesting experience. We're also trying to start a program in Ghana in collaboration with JICA and send our students there and have our students interact with the local university students in Ghana and also teach the school children math, of course, because our students are pretty good at math, like NTU students. They can't teach English, but they can teach math, right? So that's what it was. And so a program like this, this is a comment from one of the students that said, the program ignited my passion for bridging gaps, promoting inclusivity and standing out and advocating for individuals whose stories frequently go unheard. So this is the kind of thing that we've been trying to do. So I wanted to show you a 1-minute video, if I can, about this program, just to show you what it's like.
Passport, flight.
So welcome to all of you, especially those from AUW in Tokyo. We have a big auditorium.
Express freely. But right now they are migrating themselves.
There is no action.
今日は次こんな話してもらって
You have to study more. You have to meet people. You have to educate yourself. Yes. Menstrual hygiene is essential.
The last part of the summer program. This is a platform that welcomes everyone. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you. So it's really a small program with about 30 students. It may not look much to you, but for us, as I told you, our student composition is quite uniform in many ways. To have different set of students come together and study like this for 1 week, and with our president and executive vice president committing themselves to really use this as a catalyst for future change is very important for us. And so this is the kind of shift that we're trying to make at the University of Tokyo. So one more thing before I finish is we also want to think of global as not only outside of Japan. So we want to cultivate global outlook among our students within Japan as well. So because there are many global things. Global doesn't mean just flying out of Tokyo and going to the United States. They can find global experiences within Japan too. And so we're shifting that as well. And we want to create programs, for example, having our students and international students working together with communities in Japan, like immigrant communities in Japan. We have large immigrant communities from Brazil, India, Nepal, Philippines. They can study with these communities, or rural communities, and learn about depopulation and declining birth rate. And I'm wondering if they could do this in Taiwan as well. I was talking to people at the D School several months ago, and Professor Shenlin Cho was telling me about programs you have in rural Taiwan. Maybe our students can join your students in such places and learn from the people in those communities in Taiwan. This is my last slide. So for us, a global outlook really is about diversity. We want to enhance the awareness for more need for more diversity, inclusion, and equity, so that they can critically reflect on one's own identity and social position, and so that they will be able to gain the ability to engage in dialogues across values and bridging differences. And that's where UTokyo Globe and Include, which was discussed earlier this morning, come together. And they are both under the authority of Professor Hayashi here. So Professor Hayashi comes, and there's Include, and there's UTokyo Globe. And through this, we're really trying hard to bring in diversity to a society that really needs to embrace diversity and differences. Thank you very much.
Thank Professor Yaguchi for sharing how UTokyo promote global education and thus contribute to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Now may we invite our next speaker, Ms. MeiMei, Director of Consultancy of Times Higher Education. Ms. Lin's expertise is in sustainability, academic strategy, research analysis, and reputation. Please welcome Ms. Lin.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Thank you for the introduction. My name is MeiMei, and I'm Director of Consultancy based in Times Higher Education's Singapore office. So similar to Yujin, I'm also quite unsure as to the audience that we have today. So I'll probably go a little bit more slowly and talk a little bit more about Times Higher Education. But before I begin, a little bit about myself. I grew up in Malaysia and I became Singaporean recently, but I spent most of my life in National University of Singapore. So a lot of my perspectives actually comes from a university background and also experience. However, I joined Times Higher Education 3 years ago, and that gives me access, in essence, to data that comes from the rankings. There we go. Yes. So a little bit about what I'm going to talk about today. I will be sharing with you some data and insights around reputation and also internationalization. I will then talk about frequently asked questions, which is what are some of the trends that you see changing in the higher education landscape. And then I will talk about how then your university can leverage some of these shifting trends in the market before I conclude. So for those of you who may have never heard of Times Higher Education, we are very much known for our university rankings. So every time I meet people, they go, "Oh, THE, you are the ranker." So a little bit about our different families of rankings as well. We have the teaching rankings. So for our colleagues from Japan, we have the Japanese university rankings. And teaching is actually very much country specific, whereby we measure things like students, satisfaction, employer reputation, etc. And it changes from country to country. What we are probably most known for is our research intensive rankings, which is the World University Rankings. And that's the one that a lot of universities use in their materials and in their events as well. And this is very much measuring research. So research output, research quality, etc. And then finally is our impact rankings, our newest rankings that has joined our family, and that's the impact rankings. And that's measuring universities' progress against the UN Sustainable Development Goals. So this is a rankings launch in 2019, so very new. So I'm just going to give you a little bit of insights into our data. So we collect a lot of data from universities around the world. Apart from that, apart from universities submitting data to us, we also send out an annual survey. And this survey goes out to academics from around the world, asking them a few key questions. So some of the questions will include, what do you think are the top 15 universities in the world for teaching and for research? And we ask them, what influences your voting behavior, for example? And so from there, what we are able to measure then is what you see on screen, which is our teaching reputation and also research reputation. So data like that comes from our survey. And as you can see, I've boxed it up. The weighting is quite high. We do measure other, I won't go into all the metrics. It will take me probably another hour, but I just want to briefly mention that we collect other data as well, such as research bibliometric data. So that's looking at research quality and also research output. And finally, you see I've boxed up here international co-authorship because I will be sharing a little bit of data on that. And what is international co-authorship? So that is when a researcher inside, let's say inside Taiwan, collaborates or writes a paper with someone outside of Taiwan. So that's what we call international co-authorship. Oh. Okay, so in terms of the shifting trends that we see, what do we see on screen? The different continents, right? So, and this shows the number of votes that we have received going to these institutions. So we see for North America, the blue bar shows voting in 2019 and the red for 2023. So this is a 5-year change, a 5-year difference. And we can see for North American universities, they have received lower votes. Then we see Europe largely remain the same, but look at Asia. Asia is experiencing a rise in votes going to Asian institutions, meaning. So that's a good trend for the Asian universities in this room. I have to say I was a bit nervous to show this slide. But when we look and we break down for Asia, which Asian regions receive the most votes? So Japan, so to our Japanese colleagues in this room, this is a good sign for you. You have received the most votes in 2019 in blue, but look at what happened in red in 2023, which is last year. The vote has gone down quite significantly. The number of votes that you receive has gone down quite significantly. Look at mainland China. Mainland China 5 years ago, and now there is a change as well. There's an increase of votes of their institutions being recognized. South Korea, slight drop. So I'm not sure if there's South Korean institutions in this room, slight drop that we see. But in 2024, when I looked at the data, they managed to maintain quite well, not bad. But look at Taiwan. Taiwan, unfortunately, has experienced quite a large, steep drop. Then we look at Singapore. Singapore, not bad as well, managed to maintain. And we can see actually 5 years ago, Singapore was behind Taiwan in terms of votes, but now it has overtaken Taiwan. And Singapore, as we know, is small. They're just, in our rankings, 2 universities, which means a lot of these votes are going to those 2 universities. And then look at India. India, again, was behind Taiwan 5 years ago, but now has overtaken Taiwan. Same with Hong Kong as well. And India, as you can see just now with some of our sharing from Japan, there is a great interest in India. And as we see the rising votes as well going to India, this shows, again, the shifting trends, right? And if we look down the table, which I didn't include, some of the other nations like Malaysia, Indonesia, they are receiving increase in votes. So that's the trends that we see. So, another question I always get asked, who is voting for me? Everyone wants to know which regions are then voting for Taiwan. So we see that 58% of Taiwanese universities are voting for other Taiwanese universities as well. 58% actually is quite a good number. Often when we look at data for South Korea, for Japan, for other Asian regions, usually the percentage is higher. Usually it's about 70-80%. So actually 58% is not bad. It means that you get a lot of your votes from outside of Taiwan. And if we look at who outside of Taiwan you get votes from mainland China, from Japan, from the US, from Vietnam, India, South Korea, and so on. But what I like to look at is in terms of, so you see here in the blue, those are the same countries I showed just now. These are who are voting for you. Then I want to look at who are you writing papers with? Who are you doing international co-authorship with? So the right over here shows the countries that you are co-authoring with. And then I like to compare and contrast. The pattern that I often see is that countries who you co-author with are often also voting for you. So we see here, right, mainland China, Japan, United States, those are the countries who you are writing papers with. And yes, rightly so, they will vote for you. Same with India, same with South Korea. You are receiving some votes from Vietnam, Thailand, Russia, and Indonesia. And perhaps interestingly, earlier this morning, we did hear that Taiwanese institutions are working with these countries. And so this is a good sign. It's a good sign. And I would like to encourage you or the Taiwanese institutions in here to continue your good work with Southeast Asia, Southeast Asian countries. And then you'll see the votes coming back in return. But then another question I always get asked, then who am I writing papers with, but they are not voting for me? So you can see here in red. So this is the United Kingdom, Germany, Australia, Canada. And I boxed up here because then these countries represents opportunity. It means that these countries you are actually writing papers with, but they are not voting for you. So you need to find out why. Why is that so? Okay, and then when we look at trends, so this is a 5-year trend whereby I've looked at international co-authorship over time. We see actually for Chinese mainland, in terms of the percentage of the papers that they write internationally, is quite low, right? It's about 20-something%. And then Japan and Korea are actually quite similar, but what I want to highlight is that you see Korea overtaking Japan. So that's something to watch out for as well for Japanese institutions. Then we see Taiwan right in the middle here in green. So actually they're not doing too bad in terms of percentage of international co-authorship. There's a lot of work that goes in, actually, we can see. It's not too bad in terms of percentage. I wanted to show as well Vietnam, because this is what we see, this is a decline in the number of international co-authorship. So this is not a good sign to see. A lot of factors do drive this, but I just wanted to show, for contrast, a country that is experiencing this decline. And then for contrast as well, Hong Kong, which we see very, very high international co-authorship. So Hong Kong does very well in international outlook, in terms of students, staff, and also co-authorship. So what does that tell us though? So we recently launched the World University Rankings in Manchester, and I know a few of you or your colleagues were there. This is something shared by University of Manchester in terms of reputation. So reputation, what is it? We discussed earlier this morning that education takes a very long time. Similarly, for reputation as well. Often we get asked this question, how do I improve my reputation? I want a quick fix. And we have to gently say there is no quick fix. It takes a long time to build. But it takes a very short time to destroy reputation. It takes actually 1 second, right? If you think about it, bad news in news media, it's just 1 second to destroy your reputation, but it takes years to build it up. So what does that mean for universities? It means you have to start now, is what I'm trying to say. It means that it takes a long time, and therefore, start now. If you do see trends of decline, you have to start now to build your reputation. So what does it comprise of? As you can see, University of Manchester has shared in comprises of achievements, of activities, and as we can see, Taiwan is not doing too badly in terms of research, right? Research, international co-authorship, it's not too bad, but maybe it's not enough. What about here? What about your engagement, your marketing, your branding, building a strong narrative as well? When we work with universities, often they go, oh, no, it's not really a brand. We don't do this kind of activities. We don't do marketing. It's not so much of our priority. But perhaps something to think of again. A question that I often get asked as a staff of National University of Singapore is, oh, you're from NUS. You have no problem building partnerships. Everybody knows NUS, but what they don't know is that we work very, very hard behind the scenes to maintain that position, to maintain that brand. And we see often our senior management out in other countries on visits, hosting visitors. I personally work weekends myself just to host visitors as well. So it shows to you that these activities are highly important just to maintain your brand, not even talking about improving it, but maintaining it. So, what are the shifting trends then we see from our data? I spoke briefly about the impact rankings. And what we saw 5 years ago is that there were 400 over institutions participating and 12 Taiwanese institutions in the impact rankings. Fast forward 5 years later, so this is 5 years later, we see a growth in the impact rankings. There are 2,000 institutions participating. And in Manchester, just a few weeks ago, when we released our World University Rankings, the number was slightly lower than this. 2,000 over 2,052, I believe, institutions in our World University Rankings, which means our impact rankings, what we call our baby rankings, has overtaken the World University Rankings. And look at the number of Taiwanese institutions, 51 ranked in our impact rankings, 4 which are in the top 100 and 3 in the top 200. This is very, very good results that we see for Taiwan. It shows as well that universities are starting to recognize this shift in terms of the importance in higher education. So where do we get our data from? This is how we measure, just for, I think that a lot of you probably are not familiar with the impact rankings, so just 1 or 2 minutes on how we measure higher education institutions. This is the 4 different areas that we look at. First is research. In research, we get this data from our partner Elsevier, so this is bibliometric data. Second is stewardship. So stewardship is how you use your campus, how you share your campus. So we see actually Taiwanese institutions, you share your campus resources quite a lot. So this is good. Outreach is how you then go out into the community, into society, to then educate the public. And fourth is teaching, how you educate the next generation so that they also learn sustainability. So for those of you in academic affairs or your hearts are very close to the student, we want to share that this is data that we collected from international students from around the world, asking them, how does sustainability affect your study choices? How do you choose which university to study at? And some of the top results is I guess not so surprising. Quality of teaching, of course. Research, cost of tuition, graduate employability prospects, yes. And then look at the bar in green over here, the university's commitment to sustainability. So it doesn't show very high over here, but what is perhaps more interesting is that it overtook the location of the university. So we collected this data 3 years in a row. We saw that over the 3 years, this has actually moved up. it has overtaken location of the university. So your Gen Z, your next generation, are increasingly placing importance on sustainability. So we also asked them, how do you then assess? How do you know? How do you know which university is good, is doing well in this area in terms of sustainability? So I'm just showing you some of the answers that they gave us. Environmental policies. They also told us partnerships. They told us student opportunities to take part in activities, quality and impact of research they look at as well. And finally, sustainable campus. What this gives us is, what we can see from here is then, if a question that we ask students, then where do you find that out? They often tell us, or the website, or social media. So these are the two channels that are most common that they use. So think about it. Think about then your own website. Are you conveying some of these activities as well to students? Are you also marketing and branding yourself, I guess, in this area as well to students? So my final section is then how can you leverage some of what you do? So just to acknowledge that institutions are already doing a lot in this area, but how can you use that and grow your reputation in that way? So some data with regards to Taiwanese institutions, in order to know how you leverage, you need to know your strengths, right? Often, and this is for the whole of Taiwan, you need to look at your own institution. It could be different for NTU, it could be different for NCKU. So the top performing sustainable development goals, we can see SDG 9, industry and innovation. So that's where Taiwan institutions does really well. Partnership for the goals, SDG 17. SDG 12, responsible consumption, and also SDG 3, good health and well-being. So this is a trend that we see not only for Taiwan, but for South Korea as well. So quite similar in that sense, and also Singapore. Then my question back to you is, are you leveraging some of your USPs? Are you leveraging some of your strengths in this area? Then together with that is then asking the question, you already know your strengths, right? Then you have to ask, then what influences reputation then? Remembering that it's academics, right, who are also thinking about your reputation. And look at this. A lot of them have told us personal interactions is really important. It's actually even more important than the quality of journals, being seen as a leader, achieving real-world impact, and citation metrics. So I just want to linger on the 69% telling us personal interactions. We saw some data earlier on COVID, online learning, etc. But also some of the speakers sharing that actually in-person interactions is highly important. So something to think about when building your reputation. What are some of the in-person activities that you are doing in order to ensure that your reputation is being built among academics? Some more data, because this is what often we get asked for. So this actually comes from our reputation survey. For those of you who want to know, how do I improve in my reputation? We asked them, what are some of the media channels that affects your voting behavior? So we can see here, digital media is important. It forms 50% of the voters. So what is digital media? Digital media will be digital academic journals and your website. Website is highly important. Print media we can see going down, not surprising. And look at the increase in social media as well. A huge increase. So your voters out there are placing importance on social media. And which are the social media channels? So the social media channels that we see most popular with voters is LinkedIn and YouTube. Bear in mind that this result comes from our international voters. If we break it down, and I encourage you to, if we break it down to know, like for China, it would be Weibo and WeChat, and for different parts of the world, for Korea, it could be Line, etc. So different parts of the world will use different social media. So look at who you want to target, who you want to build your reputation with, and use the social media channels accordingly. So I'm just going to give you a few quick examples of case studies of universities who have used our rankings to boost their reputation. So Western Sydney University ranks #1 on our impact rankings. And probably maybe something like 6 or 7 years ago, if you ask someone who's the top university in Australia, most of them will say University of Sydney, University of Melbourne, etc. Western Sydney University is located in one of the poorest part of Australia. And they do a lot to contribute to the community, to uplift the poor as well. And so when we speak to them, they tell us about how proud they are to be able to showcase the work that they do to uplift the community. So remembering just now that I shared United Kingdom. United Kingdom is one of the countries who are not voting for Taiwan, right? They they place a lot of importance on sustainability, and we work a lot with the UK institutions. Even though they are already at the top of the table, they still place very, very high importance on sustainability and on reputation building. So this is a tip for all of you in the room. So an example of University of Glasgow, they have different media channels to target to different audiences. So some to academics, some to students, etc. And they are very active on their social media as well, promoting themselves as a leader in sustainability. Hokkaido University, they are also positioning themselves as a leader in the SDGs. And remembering just now that I mentioned YouTube is highly important, they upload a series of their researchers on YouTube talking about the different types of research that they do in this area. Partnerships. So I want to talk about partnerships a little bit. A lot of universities come to us and they ask us, oh, how do I find partners? How do I form partners? I'm not sure. So often what they will do is they will actually look at the rankings. When I was at NUS, I look at the rankings as well. So for impact rankings though, they will, so this is an opportunity for the smaller universities to position themselves in maybe some of the SDGs. Maybe you do well in SDG 7, which is clean energy, and you want to find partners in similar area as well. So this is an example of Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, who actually work together to conserve the Mekong River, a river that they all share. And this is a wonderful example of how they work together, the different universities from different parts of the world in some of the conservation efforts. So, in terms of universities, I've given you a lot of examples, but what about governments? We have seen an increase in the interest of governments working with THE as well. And this is an example from the Ministry of Higher Education in Thailand. And they have worked with us for 4 to 5 years. They told us that they place a lot of importance on sustainability, and they want to really measure what the universities are doing, but more importantly, perhaps what students are doing. They want to measure student outcomes that comes from sustainability activities and programs as well, which actually I think a lot of universities, they put in a lot of effort, they do a lot of activities or programs, but they don't really measure the outcomes. So here are some results that you see. I'm not going to go into it, but effectively students telling us whether some of these programs have made a difference to them. So my final slide, I think before I conclude, we do have a sustainability strategy framework because we often get asked, what do I do? What's the next step? So you can go through the 4 different ways in which to also assess yourself. You can look at your strengths and weakness diagnostics. You can then develop a strategy, build SDG partnerships. You can then engage with different stakeholders through events. And then you can measure. Measurement is highly important because you want to see how well you're doing. So I know I'm running out of time, so I'm just going to conclude over here, which is, so just briefly to summarize, strengths and weaknesses. I've mentioned strengths for Taiwanese universities. You are doing a lot in the sustainability space. How are you leveraging that? So I've mentioned some of your strengths. Your international co-authorship is not too bad. You can look to improve it, but actually it's doing quite well. But some of the opportunities for improvement, the decrease that we saw in reputation, and how you leverage some of these platforms. So data has told us your interactions, your social media, your website, these are highly important tools that you need to utilize to build your reputation and think about opportunity, your markets, the different markets, and cater them accordingly. UK, ASEAN, the ways in which you engage with them will be highly different. Okay, so I leave you with 3 takeaways, like a teacher, but I'm not a teacher, pretending to be one. What differentiates you in the sustainability space? So think about that, right? How do you then leverage that differentiation to promote your identity? And finally, have you leveraged all channels in your reach? Thank you so much.
Thank Ms. Lin for walking us through the data behind rankings so that we can maintain and also improve our reputation. Now, may we invite our next speaker, Professor Li Junhao, Associate Vice President for International Affairs, National Taiwan University. Professor Li is also the Distinguished Professor of Department of Electrical Engineering. Professor Li.
Okay. Thank you, Chairman. And I'm Junhao Li, and I'm the Associate Vice President for International Affairs in NTU National Taiwan University. And today I'm very happy to have this chance to talk something about what we have done in NTU National Taiwan University. And today, because in this session we talk about the globalization in education, so we talk about how we can encourage our students, we say, to go beyond or learning beyond borders. So push them out of Taiwan. Okay, so I starting from some facts. Oops, next page. Okay, so it's the status in NTU right now. We have about over 640 partner institute, and our student exchange program is about over 700. And the quota is around 1,300 or 1,400. And we have more than 100 dual degree program, and we have the international student. Right now it's more than 6,000. So that including about 2,600 degree students, and the other are exchange students. And also we provide EMI courses. EMI courses that's taught by English. So right now it's about 1,900, more than that. And those are professional courses. So that is not the language courses. And also the study abroad. So you can see the trend here. Actually, that is we call the outgoing. So this line is actually the exchange student. And due to the COVID-19, so it decreased a lot. But after COVID, right now it's surpassed the previous. So become a very good number. But actually, we want more. And also we have some summer program is in this line and decreased too. But because right now for the foreigner countries, right now they don't provide so many summer school as previous. So it's gradually increased, but it's still a strong demand. And there are also some visiting student we go aboard. So that is the facts and of NTU. And today's topic, I will cover 3 sections. The first section is actually we want to push our students to beyond borders, go beyond borders. The first thing is to prepare them. So the first thing is we try to establish a campus, NTU campus, become the more internationalization. So that is learning in NTU, like beyond the mental barriers. So one day when they go abroad, so they will not feel very strange. And the second thing is actually when we educate students, we want not only to cultivate the talents, but also we think they will go to the society one day. So one thing is we will encourage them and set out lots of the opportunity for them for the workforce. So we will see that later. And the third thing is, finally, they can go beyond the borders. So, but not only exchange, and we also have lots of the opportunities for them, for the NTU student to go abroad, then for the industry, not only in the university. So do some research and go some companies, not in Taiwan. So I think that is to broaden the spectrum when they go abroad. So for the first thing is internationalization, international environment. So we want to establish the environment for the student. So one thing, the basic thing is the English capability. So we have the CBE, Center for Bilingual Education, to improve the English capability for the student. So of course, in NTU, we provide all kinds of English courses, from the general to the very difficult one. An inline program that is proposed by our professors. So for example, one course is in NTU, that is just teach you how to chat with other people in different category. For example, in STEM category, in bio category. So each courses, they just chat in some special topics, but that is proposed by the professor. We provide some funding for them. And also some English empowerment initiative. So that is outside the classroom, and also they are arranged by the different department or institution, so that a student can immerse into the environment very naturally. And the fourth thing is English enrichment subsidies. So actually we encourage a student, they go to have some English certificate. So we give them some money for that. And also we provide, we provide this kind of resource in different offices. So for example, I'm from the Office of International Affairs, and also we have some resource in Office of the Academic Affairs, Office of Student Affairs. So we have some integrated forces. If you have some idea, you want to integrate resources, and we can do that. So these are two examples. One is a Charter Bus Cafe. So that is actually because we have the 6,000 international students. So some of them, they are native English speakers. So they can be the master, table master here, and these are domestic students. And actually maybe during the lunchtime, maybe 1 hour, so they can have some chatter. They can chat together. And also the English corner. So that is initiated by the individual professors. They will say, okay, so let's have the course, and each week we just discuss different topics. Okay. So as we said, because we have lots of international students, so we want to have a very good immersion between the international student and domestic student. So one of that is cultural exchange. So mahjong is very important, and bring the international student to the night markets. They love it. And okay, next page. Next one. Okay. And also for this international student, we have lots of the activities. One is the second mentor program. So each student, undergraduate student, they have the mentor for their professional study. Also for their life, we have another mentor for that. And also the host family, and also the international alumni. So actually, we will invite alumni. Sometimes from the statistic number, actually about 50%, over 50% of the international students come to Taiwan, and they stay in Taiwan. So we will invite them come back to tell their younger classmates what's your future if you want to stay in Taiwan. So that's what we have done. And the previous one. Okay. So the other thing is actually we recruit student ambassadors. So just as a professor you mentioned, actually you made a student ambassador in airport. So actually that's very highly competitive. So they will help us to host the guests from the different countries. And also we have some student advisor. So in NTU, we also have some summer school. So during the summer school, for example, Harvard University, they come to Taiwan to study Mandarin, about 60 students during the summertime. So we have some student advisor to help them in their lives and their living in Taiwan, as well as some help them in the classroom. So that increase the possibility to have some interaction for the domestic students, so they can have more chances to be familiar to this kind of the international environment. So next page. Oh, there. Okay. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is learning beyond the campus. So first of all, I would like to introduce, that's another PI, also another education award. And NTU, we are very honored to receive the Pioneer of the Year. So so it's not a typo, it's Pioneer of the award. And also, we received the Employability International Impact Award. So which means our student, NTU student, receive very good reputation from the company. So they call that the Oscars of education. So that is in UK. So I think maybe UK, they know more about NTU right now. Okay, so next page. So why we can achieve this award? Because we have this international mentorship program. So actually, NTU is a very good university in Taiwan and also in the world. So our student, that is a domestic student, that is not very difficult if they want to find an intern job. Next page. However, for the international student, there are some barriers when they want to find an intern job. If you cannot find an intern job, and there's a barrier when you graduate and you want to find a real job in Taiwan. So that is we just try to find some companies and some partners, and they can provide this kind of mentorship style program. And also that's all English. And because NTU is a comprehensive university, so this kind of job is across all sectors. And we also, before they go to this kind of intern during the summertime. So actually, before that, maybe half a year, we give them that's a workshop. You should do better. What kind? Not only the education, you should care about many things about that. And also we bring them some corporate visit and also the cultural activities, so that they can know more. So the international student can know more about Taiwan. So these are some organizations, including some public sector, civic sector, or private sector. So as you can see, some famous Taiwan company, for example, TSMC, they also has a manager. He speaks English, and also also the different spectrum. IKEA, Carrefour, or Baker McKenzie, like that. And also the public one, for example, the Taipei Zoo or some Chamber of Commerce from different countries. And also, we also observed a similar thing as our friend from Tokyo. Actually, NTU student, they has a certain ranking. So we encourage them to care more about this, the society and for more people. So we also have another INGO program. So that is during the summertime, during the semester time, they have this kind of the courses, and they need to write a report, and we hope them to care more about this society. So next page. So these are some INGO. So INGO, I means international. So although they are international NGO, but actually their base is in Taiwan. So there's no cost in the travel. And also we open some courses to let the NTU student know actually there are many things we can do for this society. And the student, not only the international student, but also some domestic student. So that is something we have done to prepare those students in NTU. That is not to teach you the knowledge, but also we need to prepare this person to be some people useful for the society. So next one. And the final one for this session is the master talks. I think the similar thing because you have the president, executive vice president, to have the one-on-one interview. So actually, we invite. Actually, they are retired from the very big company, L'Oreal, IBM, LVMH, and Tiffany, and some banks, and also 2 ministers from Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So actually, they are retired. So they have lots of free time, and they like to talk with young people, and our young people love them. So you just actually you can make an appointment with them and have a coffee in OIA office. So they really learn a lot. So that is something we have done to connect the student to this society. So next one. Okay. So right now we prepare everything, right? So they are want to tackle. So that is Beyond Borders. So next one. So for the Beyond Borders, actually that is a university-wide program. That from the blue one is from the so Office of Academic Affairs. This one is from the OIA Office of International Affairs, and this one is from the OSA Office of Student Affairs. So let's go to the next one. Okay. So for the Office of Academic Affairs, actually we have some non-degree program, dual degree program, and the COE trilogy, and also the learning beyond the classroom. So actually, this one is not very new. Student exchange, short-term program. So as similar, and the dual degree, that's similar. I want to focus on these 2. So next page. So for the we just mentioned about the exchange program, that is a semester-based, that is long-term. But the other thing is short-term program. So right now we focus not only in the education or research, but also for the innovation and the entrepreneurship program. So that is one program we will launch next year with GIX, Global Innovation Exchange, under the UW. So you can see that it's a 2-week program, and in the morning there are some courses such as design thinking or tech strategy, but in the afternoon there are some industry visit. So that is actually in the Seattle area. There are several famous companies that is the base of the Microsoft, and also Amazon and Boeing. So the student will go to these companies through these programs. Next page. And also the COIL trilogy. So that is actually, we have, there are some universities, the other NTU, Nanyang Technological University, and Kyoto, and Tsukuba, and Glasgow. They have the similar courses. So that is collaborative online international learning. So 2 professors in each university, they open the courses. So typically there are some online courses and some discussion. So after that, there are some short-term, our students can go out, and also we will host them in Taiwan. So there are some short period for that. So I think that is next thing we will do. I think maybe next semester we will launch this program. Next one. Okay. And also that is, this one is the for the OIA. We have some overseas research internship or some internship in the companies or other institute, and the traineeship. So that is the new one, and also that is a short period. So for example, go to the Japan, ORIX, NTU ORIX traineeship, and also the NTU Persona. Persona is a company in Japan. So they will go to there for about 1 week, I think. And also they will go to the France. And this one is the other to the Tokyo. Okay, next page. Okay, so this program is we call the overseas internship program. So that is to bring the NTU student go abroad and during the summertime. So next one. Okay, so these are the host organization. So as we can see, we will go to Germany, New Zealand, Czech Republic, USA, UK, many of that. And one thing is, for example, Kew Garden in UK, that is a seed bank. There are lots of the seed in the world. So actually, they love our students. We have about 3 students every year. And also, we have some university, and we will talk about this later. Next page. And also, those are private sector. So as you can see, some companies, for example, Delta, that is a Taiwan company. So it's a huge company. They're working on some charging station for the car, electrical vehicle or something like that. But they have some sectors in United States and also in Czech Republic, UK, and many, many places. Okay, next page. So that is actually through this program, when they go outside to intern, for the intern, overseas intern, they can obtain some credits, NTU credits, and also lots of the benefits for the student. So next page. And also for the research internship. So actually, that is typically during the summertime for about 2 months. And we send a student outgoing to this university. So one example is Rice University. They only receive female students in STEM area. So they say, oh, that they notice this thing. And also for the U Chicago, actually that is bilateral. So actually in 2024, we sent 7 people to U Chicago, and they sent 8 students to NTU for the summer. And École Polytechnique, actually, there's university in France, so that's a very good university. And Caltech, actually, you see here is 2 vacancies, but actually in 2024, they received 10 Taiwan students because they say, oh, Taiwan's NTU student is wonderful. So many of that, actually, we work on that. We try to push our students, and they have some experience outside in the different countries. So next page. Okay, so in Taiwan, when we go to a university, we say, oh, there are several important things. One is you need to study very well, and you need to find a boyfriend or girlfriend, and the third thing is club. So actually, from the Office of Student Affairs, we want the student, they can think about what they want to do. Okay, so then we support. So one thing is the student exchange, but it's club exchange. Okay, so for some specific club. And also we said we think NTU students, they need to care about the society more. So there are some overseas service team or social, and this one is inside the university, maybe the club or something like that. But some students, they really want to do that. So this project with an NTU student and with Malawi organization, they form an organization so they can continue to do these things. So this is a continuous outcome of this one. Then this one is very interesting. So there's a Japan comics called One Piece, 航海王. Yeah, One Piece. So this student, he is not a pirate. He is a student from EE, electrical engineering, but he likes to sail the boat. He likes the underwater. So actually we just find some resources in NTU, and we just let the student, they can pursue their dreams. We can talk about that later. Okay, next page. So for the club exchange, so actually that is a racing team, and also we have some students, they just want to, a special club, they just want to, for example, the North Thailand, and to do some service. So that is an example. So next one. And this is the Hanhai Wang, the One Piece here. So that is, he just care about the ocean. So he just applied for some fundings and attend some conference. So right now he graduate, and we are very happy. Right now he pursue his career based on this education in NTU. Okay, so next page. I think that's all, but some take-home message. Okay, so first thing, we want to establish the environment in NTU becomes more internationalization. And the second thing is we try to connect our students to the society through kind of internship. And the third thing is we push them, go abroad. So the target is 1/3 of NTU students, they have experience before they graduate, and they have this kind of outgoing experience. So outgoing means you will stay there for more than 2 weeks. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank Professor Lee for sharing how we promote internationalization both within and beyond NTU. And before we wrap up, let's take a group photo. So would you please sit together, gather together? Yeah, 麻烦就是我们会拍一个大合照，所以如果大家是坐在两侧的，麻烦您就是可以向中间移动一下。对，大家如果想站着也没有关系，对，有站着有坐着都可以，对。Okay, thank you all for your participation in this session. And we will have a tea break. Please enjoy the refreshments. And don't forget, we will have a panel discussion later at 4:10. So in the same venue. See you shortly. Come back, and we will move on to the panel discussion, and all the panelists are already on the stage. Then I will move on to hand it over to Professor Lee to chair the discussion. Thank you.
Okay, so I'm Junhao Lee from National Taiwan University, and we just have two wonderful presentations from the Professor Yaguchi, as well as the Director Lin. And Professor Yaguchi give us a talk about cultivating global outlook among U Tokyo students. And we saw lots of the programs and that to help the internationalization in the U Tokyo, especially one program with we see the movie with the Asian University in Women. So I think that is also echo the main scene in the morning. The executive vice president talked about the woman, the female perspective. So that is a very important topic. And the second talk by Director Lin, that it also contains lots of the useful information, especially, of course, she's a ranker, of course, no doubt. And but I think also represent the kind of give us some mindset how to judge the university, and what is that lead us to think about ourselves. We are from university, and what kind of things we need to improve, what kind of the area we need to emphasize. So especially mentioned that about the sustainability. I think that is a very important thing for our university. And also, university is to cultivate talents. And today, our main thing is the future university. So that is a very important thing, how we teach our next generation. That is a very important thing. That is not only for university, but also for the whole earth. That is one thing I learned. Okay, so next we will have some questions, then some discussions, and followed by the questions from the audience. So first of all, I would like to have some questions about Professor Yaguchi. So you mentioned about that is a new exchange program, especially the Asian University for Women. So that is a very wonderful program, and you also mentioned that is supported by the Uniqlo. And but I have a question. That is could you elaborate on the specific learning outcomes you aim to achieve for U Tokyo students? So through this program, so what kind of the outcome U Tokyo students they can learn through this kind of partnership?
Thank you very much. First of all, I think you said we had two wonderful presentations, and you're wrong. We had three wonderful presentations. Thank you for that question. You know, that's a very actually difficult question to answer, because when we started this, we didn't know what kind of outcome will be generated from this, because we've never done anything like this. Now, we had students from Bangladesh for many, many years at the University of Tokyo, mostly graduate students in engineering. And the dynamics between students, between the University of Tokyo and the students from Bangladesh was always kind of, for lack of a better term, let me say hierarchical. They would come to Japan, to the University of Tokyo, to learn from our distinguished professors of engineering. So we were the teachers, they were the students. We had the knowledge, they were going to accept knowledge. We had the authority, and they were going to learn from us. We really wanted to change this dynamics. where our students will learn from them. Our students will learn from the teachers of AUW, vice versa. So we wanted to send our students to their school and take classes with AUW professors, as well as them coming to us and taking classes with them. And both sitting in the same room on a topic, on a common topic, and engaging in discussion. We chose a topic that would be relevant and interesting to all, which was about immigration, migration, and refugee issues. AUW students, some of them were refugees themselves. UTokyo students, we attracted students who were interested in this topic. So they had common interests, different background. We had no idea what the outcomes are going to be. What happened, we did this twice, this back-to-back program. What happened among our students is that they really, I think, were able to turn around this image that somehow, because we live in a more sort of, technologically advanced and a wealthier country, we are somewhat better. Because AUW students were very good and very articulate in their thinking, in their vision, and especially in their understanding of why they really wanted to study. Because they were facing extremely difficult situation in pursuing their academic dreams. So they came from very difficult social backgrounds, and they were very articulate and quite aggressive sometimes. They were they were not shy at all. They were very aggressive about their ideas, expressing their visions, adamant about what they wanted to say. So when we engaged in discussion, they were speaking 80%, and our students were like this. So it kind of turned around our students' perception of what young people were like in these areas. Some of these Muslim students with, veils and whatnot. It totally changed their outlook. And I think the most important outcome was that our students were able to see their counterparts in a very equitable way. That it's a very simple thing, and they should have known this before, but they didn't. That these were just students like them, had similar concerns and issues, and similar dreams, and that they could kind of study and talk together, and they could be friends. And mind you, these are not graduate students. These are like 20-year-olds, 19, 20-year-olds. And to them to realize this is actually for us a big turnaround. For the students who grew up in a relatively secured, comfortable environment, to realize that there is a completely different world out there, but the students are just like them in so many ways, even though they have different religions, different backgrounds, and that. So it's that kind of general outcome that was actually the most important for us.
Yeah, so that's very impressive because maybe previously between the UTokyo and AUW, maybe one is the giver, the other is the receiver. But actually, AUW, actually they can teach more about the real world for the UTokyo students. And also, I think similar in NTU, sometimes we think the NTU students, they will, when they have some benefit, they take it for granted. Yeah, but actually the real world is not like that. Yeah, so I think that's very impressive. For this kind of collaboration. And also I think so in this kind of, so it's a follow-up question. So in this kind of collaboration, so do you have any challenge when establish this kind of the partnership? And I mean how to initiate that? And also is there any challenge, especially for the cultural or geographically difference between the institution?
There are so many challenges. Well, first of all, money is the issue. Finance. We need to finance this, and that's why we're working with Uniqlo, fast retailing. They have a factory in Bangladesh, And Mr. Yanai, the president, is interested in supporting students. So we went to Nikko and we worked very closely with them. At first, they were kind of skeptical. It was like, you're University of Tokyo. I'm sure you're not interested in AUW. So we had to kind of convince Mr. Yanai of our project. And now he's willing to support us, both sides, University of Tokyo and AUW, for this program. So money was an issue, and there are a host of other issues. And when we get students from NTU, we don't have to worry about too many things. Students from Taiwan know Japan. They can eat food in Japan. They can negotiate themselves very well in urban landscape of Tokyo. None of this works. We had to think about like vegetarian food and halal food, and these simple things are the become the roadblock, obstacles for globalization, as you all know. And there are far fewer vegetarian options in Tokyo than in Taipei, I think. I think Taiwan probably have more veggies, maybe, vegetarian options. So like catering and stuff like that. So food, to religious issues, to all kinds of small details become obstacles. But that's good for our students to think about it, and that's good for them to think about what they take for granted doesn't really translate well in Japan. It's also very good for faculty members. It's excellent for staff who are making this program, because they have to think about different cultural expectations of these students. So it's good for everyone. The challenge is good for everyone.
Yeah, so I see that's a very good program, because that's a short-term program, and we can know more about that.
It's also very exhausting.
Yeah, but
when we took our students to Bangladesh, this was a very big, it's very difficult. It's easy to bring 15 students to Taiwan. We don't have to worry about this, right? It's incredibly complicated to take 15 Japanese students to Chittagong, Bangladesh. I won't give you details, but it was a challenge, yeah. But it's good.
Yes. So that's a very important thing. And today we talk about that of the internationalization in university. So I think that's one challenge we just mentioned. And the second, then another thing is actually for some global outlook. When we see the want to do the internalization, we have some global outlook, but sometimes it affects we call the local culture identity. So for example, we have the chatterbox with the use English as a media, but their culture will go into NTU. So it's kind of we go global and our local culture. Is there any problem, or how to balance, how to deal with that?
I don't have a good answer to this, because it's actually a very difficult question. I don't know how it is in Taiwan, but many of our students, when they go abroad, they come back saying, "Oh, I'm glad I'm Japanese." And I'm hugely disappointed with this remark, because that's not what we want to promote when we try to quote unquote globalize our students. That I think global experience should question their local experience and local identity. Global exposure should really enable our students to question what they have always taken for granted about their Japaneseness. I don't want them to reinforce their Japanese identity or confirm their Japanese identity by going abroad. So this, because I think this local identity is a problematic identity, because local identity is also diverse. It's shifting, and Japan is a diverse country. What's Japanese is a complicated question. We have thousands of people of Chinese heritage in Japan, for example. Taiwanese heritage, of course, because of the colonial history. It's a highly complicated identity. And I don't want our students to come back from abroad with a simplified sense of local identity. And this is the biggest challenge. So I get quite saddened when I hear our students saying, oh, now I know I'm Japanese. Because I want them to say, no, I don't know what Japanese is. I don't know what it means to be Japanese anymore by going abroad. But this is a big challenge that I don't know the answer to. I keep struggling. But I think our female students tend to have a more nuanced reaction when they go abroad than our male students. I think because they're more faced with more difficulties in Japan in the social situation. That they now understand more sort of complex set of identities rather than the male students. So I need to work on male students more, is my sense. But it's a very difficult and very good question. I'd be curious to know what students in Taiwan are like.
Yeah, I think in Taiwan we have we are sometimes we will not say, oh, I'm lucky to be a Taiwanese. Yeah, but I think that is a very good opportunity for NTU students. Typically, they are very excited to have these chances to interact with the international students. But I think sometimes that is something we worry, because sometimes they will have some not so good habit through this kind of interaction. Yeah. Okay. So next question is actually we know Tokyo is the top university in the world and also in Japan. So when you hire the international students, sometimes I think they are different from your local Japanese students. Maybe they are very smart or hardworking, but sometimes there are some issues when they want to immerse with the Japanese culture, social, something like that.
Yeah. Yes, as I said, we have nearly 5,000 students from outside Japan, and I think they face different challenges. Those who are not coming from Chinese character society struggle a lot with Japanese language. Japanese is, like Chinese, not an easy language to pick up. So there's language issue. And Japanese society is not a very open society. And think quite a few international students feel marginalized in many ways. We try to integrate them as much as possible. But the reality is, like, even in labs, often there is a divide between Japanese students and non-Japanese students. And so we need to bridge that kind of gap. So for that, we offer Japanese language courses free of charge. We have also counselors who are whose responsibility is to look after international students, but the number is small. But we do have a Chinese-speaking counselor as well as English-speaking counselors. And there are different student associations that they form on their own. I think I would imagine Taiwanese students have their own student association. So they have their own support network. We also provide scholarships for international students. We do our best, but we can do better. I think we can do much better. And we want to learn from your institution and others how we can best support the students. It seems like, I don't want to talk too long, but I studied in the United States in the 1980s before email and before Facebook. And when I tell this to my students look at me and say, how did you communicate? I say, I wrote letters. And they said, what are letters? By hand. You affix stamp and you put it in a mailbox. And they're like, wow, how long does it take for the mail to arrive? It's one week. And they're kind of amazed. And this instant communication that our students now have. They land at the airport and instantly they're connected with their family members and friends back home. You think they wouldn't get homesick, but I think because of this sort of digital proximity, they feel the isolation even more or separation even more because they can be in contact with their friends the whole time and they cannot be with them in person. This affects their sort of sense of isolation and marginalization. And I think we're increasingly seeing cases of students who need psychological support among our students. Yeah.
So we should work together and try to help to find some answers for this big question. Okay, so and I think that we have also some question for Director Lin. So actually, there are some. So the sustainability is very, very important. So actually, we found actually in your talk is two parts. One is some metrics in the ranking. The second part is the sustainability. So the question is, yeah, of course, we need to do something about sustainability. And one question is how, for example, when we do some sustainability stuff, it's more, I think that it's how may we use that, should I say the tool or weapon to attract, to attract a higher impact partnership, something like that. So if we do something good, so how can we do that? And that is for the better partnership. Do you have any idea about that?
Thank you. That's a good question. And I'll probably break it down into a few parts. So firstly, in terms of sustainability activities, I want to acknowledge that in our work with universities, they are actually already, like you said, doing quite a lot in the different areas. So I think the next part would be then how do they attract the partners? So often with this, there are a few ways that I've also learned from the universities. They work with perhaps the governments and the local town councils, and that often helps to amplify that effect. Secondly, they could also, as shared earlier in the data, it does show that the way you communicate some of these activities is highly important. So universities often do already a lot, but they may not know how to showcase some of their efforts. I think in some of the conversations we had during tea break, it is, yes, I want to acknowledge it is quite a Asian culture, not to talk about what you do well, but perhaps maybe you don't have to say that, oh, I'm number one in a lot of these areas, but maybe use your own unique way to communicate. So we know, for example, about the Japanese culture, the Taiwanese culture in different ways as well, right? Maybe through the comics or through some of the culture. So in the same way, even though your culture, maybe not to always say I'm number one, but you can use your unique way to also showcase your own university. So those are the two areas in which we see is quite successful. Thinking about what makes your university unique. Earlier on with a professor from NTU, he told me that NTU specializes in, for medical, for medicine, more the Chinese philosophy. So it's a East-West mix in that way. So that is what makes NTU unique. Then you probably can think about how do you then attract partners in this area who are also good in this area. Then you think if let's say you want to attract an Indian university, how do you look for the Indian university who is good in this area? Likely the university in India have to promote themselves as well. They have to then put out something on their website. They have to participate in networks. They have to participate in events. So in that way, in the same way, it would be useful for universities to think of your strengths, and then it's about connection and promotion. Both are equally important in that way. For sustainability, is one angle that I've taken, but it doesn't have to be sustainability. It can be in digital transformation. It can be other areas as well. So think about these areas and how to maximize it.
Yeah, so that's a very good answer. So actually, we need to try to find out our strengths and actually find a suitable partner and to leverage both benefits. And that is one thing we can have the mutual benefits for that. Yeah, and the second thing is actually, I think you mentioned about in the beginning. You mentioned about the some trends from the 2019 to 2024, and for the second part is sustainability. So, do you see any kind of the reputation evolving in the universities? I mean, for this time evolution, do you see any changes or trends in terms of the sustainability effort? Because they do something, and we can see some significant because we see some examples in the you show, for example, West Sydney or some other university, but yeah, is any other outcomes or some trends like that?
Yeah, so indeed, when looking at the data, often one rankings, I would say, has an effect on another. And even within the rankings, the different metrics that we use, right? For example, internationalization, in the international metrics, it has a very strong link to reputation. I guess not so surprising, but there's a lot of links. So even with, let's say, international collaborations has a strong effect on citations as well. When you write a paper with an international author, then your citation would go up that way. So often universities ask us, how do I improve my rankings? Then there's some of these metrics that have a relationship to each other. But your question with regards to impact rankings and sustainability, indeed, we do see that one has a relation on the other as well. And therefore, it's important to use whatever you have in order to improve both, I would say. I guess there's a second part to your question, right, about sustainability. And was there a second part of your question? I'm sorry. I just wanted to clarify if I answered your question.
So I mean your sustainability, and that is related to some ranking or something like that. So do you have the 3-year trend or 5-year trend, something like that?
So when we look at the trends in terms of universities paying attention to sustainability, and then we look at their reputation, yes, we do see a link between both, and hence we highlight some of the activities that they've done, such that whatever they do in sustainability, it does have a knock-on effect on their reputation as well.
Yeah, so actually, so NTU, we don't care about the ranking, but we do. So similar things. So today we want to know how about the metrics, and especially our vice president is here. He's the expert in the economics, so he is a very good mathematics, so very good at that. So if you write an equation, then next year we know how we can improve. So today, if you can tell us some secret, then we can do better next year. Yeah. Okay. So I think My question is something like that, and maybe we can open for the audience.
Thank you very much for your impressive talk this afternoon, three of you. I came from Donghai University. My first question goes to Director Lin. And in your talk, you mentioned about in the 2024, for the impact ranking university, there are 4 universities in Taiwan in top 100. Do you know which those 4 universities are?
Yeah, yes, but you would like to know
Yes.
who they are? Yes, so I can share with you later. In the
I
sense,
can give you the answer now. The 4 universities. The first one is NTU, National Taiwan University. The second one is Yangming Jiaoda University. The third one is National Chenggong University. The last one is my university, Donghai University. And that's why I asked the question.
I
like
see.
to promote
Congratulations
myself.
to promote yourself. Congratulations.
Okay, the second question goes to Professor Yamachi. Yaguchi. In your talk, you mentioned about U-Tokyo dialogue. And I think that's an excellent idea. But my question goes to, and those global leaders, VP, what's your approach to attract them to come to UT? And how much budget you have, and how much money you spent?
Oh, thank you. Actually, we don't pay them because we catch them when they're in Tokyo. For they come to Tokyo for other businesses. Often they come visit our school, our president, and or our executive vice president, and we ask them, well, if you're coming to visit us to sort of meet with president and our EVP, would you like to meet with our students? Almost all the time they say yes. They say, sure, we'd love to meet with us students. So then we set it up. And these global leaders are very happy to meet with the students, and they don't really demand any compensation. I think the compensation is the time with the students. So, yes, that's the answer. Yes.
Any others?
I have a question.
Oh, sure.
Because you didn't get to answer any of the questions.
I think I have the
You were
privilege.
asking. So I'm really impressed with the range of internship opportunities you provide, and this is an area that we at the University of Tokyo need to work on. For example, providing credits for internships, and also enabling our students to do internship abroad, as well as providing international students with internship within. So all of these were far behind NTU, and it was very inspiring to listen to your talk, but also I was kind of amazed how you managed to do it. So I was wondering what is like the culture of internship on this campus? Is it something that's completely assumed in Taiwanese society that students will do internship and therefore the university must provide internship opportunities?
Okay, so I think it's a very good question. So I think one thing is actually this kind of the internship that is new. I think a new direction from our Ministry of Education. So right now our university received the instruction that is we not only provide the knowledge, but also we need to help the student to bridge them for their work outside the campus. So that's one thing. And for the domestic student, for example, I'm the professor in electrical engineering. So actually, I received some funding from industry. So my student already work on that for the master degree or graduate school. And so that is not very difficult for domestic students. Yeah. But for the internet, humanity and social science depends on, they have some opportunities, but they need to find. Yeah, so their career path. Yeah, so that is possible, yeah, to find that. So yes, it's a good question, yeah. But we think the most difficult thing is the international students in NTU. So we take care of this part. So we try to find lots of the company or institution in Taiwan. They are willing to use English to as a media to talk with them. Yeah.
That was another question I had about these companies that accept international students as interns, that they would allow students who do not have Chinese language proficiency to be interns here, because this is another problem in Japan. International students have a really hard time finding internship as well as career opportunities because of the relative lack of Japanese language proficiency.
Yeah, you are right. So actually, that is we try very hard in the beginning, but the other thing is actually right now in Taiwan there are many companies, they are international companies. So although sometimes their base is in Taiwan, but they have the branch overseas, so they can use the English as well. And for example, and the other is reverse. For example, ST Microelectronics. So that's an Italian company, but they have a branch in Taiwan, so there's no problem. And also, for example, Hitachi Energies. Hitachi Energies, they have the branch in over the world, so they can use English as well. So we try to find some international companies in this regard, so we can solve this problem. And also some Chamber of Commerce, so that is another area. So or some places such as in some ambassador office. Yeah, so that is another thing. They can use English, no problem. So I mean, but in the beginning, that is difficult. So in the beginning, maybe we have about 50, 60 vacancies for the first year. First year means the 2022. Then right now it's expanded to almost 200. So because after they use NTU student, they say, oh, that's a wonderful program. So more and more companies join. And they will, I think that will increase significantly. If, I mean, the U Tokyo student, you select student perfectly. So if once the company, they use that and they have some, they require this kind of international students. For example, most international students, I think, is from Indonesia. And there are lots of the Taiwan companies, they will have the branch in Indonesia. So they need that. So it's very natural. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question as well to both of you, if that's okay, with regards to reputation and the challenges that you face as a university to build reputation. So would you like to share some of the challenges that you face to differentiate yourself, or perhaps because U Tokyo and NTU is actually already very well known, so the challenge is not quite there, but I'll be interested to hear from your perspective as well if you do face any challenges.
I think, how shall I say this? In terms of reputation, U Tokyo has a challenge. And that challenge is that domestically, the university is not challenged. The University of Tokyo remains #1 in Japan, and it will likely remain #1 in Japan. And there is not a sense that that is in any sort of danger. The image of the University of Tokyo as #1 has been continuously hyped up by the media and the society and the competitive entrance exam system, that it's easy to sort of sit back and just think that we're #1 in Japan. But increasingly, there's a kind of gap between the domestic reputation and the global reputation. And Tokyo used to be ranked higher, and it's going down to 30, 35, ish. And I think there's a sense of frustration that some people think, well, ranking system is very sort of Euro-American English language centered. Some of my colleagues would say that's a typical example of English language imperialism. And therefore, we should not be dictated by that kind of logic of a Euro-American sort of centric assessment. Because it seems like there's very little we can do to stop the decline in global ranking. So there's the challenge is the sense that we're #1. So when we're assessed as #1, we want to believe in that ranking as domestically. But when we go down globally, we don't want to believe it. This fundamental contradiction is something that we haven't been able to resolve. I think some of us think, well, like it or not, ranking is ranking. And your students often use ranking to determine, or at least discuss which universities that they want to go to. Also, it affects our recruitment, and we should try our best. Others don't want to look at it, and we're kind of at that stage, is my sense. I don't know what you think, but there's this sort of split personality regarding ranking. We want to believe the #1 ranking in Japan, but we don't want to believe your ranking in terms of the world. That's the challenge. I'm not quite sure what can be done, but I think we need to, having listened to your presentation, it seems like we do need to really try to figure out what we can do to, what kind of buttons we need to press. And some people are critical of that, but I think that seems to be a reality of the things.
So, VP want to answer this part about NTU reputation? I go first. Okay. So I think that in NTU actually we face something similar situation, that is every year QSTHE NTU is still #1 in Taiwan, but we can see the sometimes decline or oscillation or something trend like that. So we cannot say we don't care, but we care about that. But we will. What I know is actually we will carefully find out some. I think for Taiwan, I mean for the Taiwan training, actually we are more familiar with some quantified things. How many papers you write? How about the citation you got? Yeah, we can compare that. But for the reputation, as you say, that is kind of imaginary. So it's very difficult. So, for example, our when the THE ranking, NTU this year is I think 172. That is decrease about 20 from 150 something to 172. So actually, we do some analysis, and actually we found our reputation is very bad in certain area. For example, in Africa. yeah, we got 0 points there because nobody knows NTU in this region. And maybe this year is better, maybe point something. Yeah, so it's from the President Chen. Yeah, he mentioned about that. So I think that is something we need to kind of to expand our borders. Yeah, through the students, through the research, through many things, co-author, that is one thing, and also actually, I think just today, actually there are some delegation from Africa. They come to Taiwan because they want to promote their nursing. And in Taiwan, as I said, the medical school actually is the best. So there's a workshop about that. So I think that we need to try to promote NTU, and that is, I think that's beyond border is also one part for that. Yeah.
So I'm responsible for the teaching part of the university. So I'm naturally pay attention to our teaching reputation. And as Professor Lee said, our teaching reputation was ranked very low according to your THE ranking. So that's something we get kind of confused because you see, we have been working so hard in this teaching innovation, quality improvement, but that seems has no effect at all on our teaching ranking. So that's why, I mean, that's one of the purpose that we have this conference. So we invite the leaders to learn from you and also to tell us some of the secret. And then we begin to realize that we have to understand how the system works, how the game is played. But when we realize some of these mechanisms, we get to another dilemma that is sometimes the ranking is useful for us to do as a health check, right? We can know where we do not enough. But sometimes we find that the thing that we are lack of is not really something fundamental to the education. For example, you have to promote yourself internationally. So we are kind of wondering what kind of balance that we want to put. We want to put of course, we want to put most of our resources on improving the fundamentals. But we also need to do something to advertise, to make connections just for the ranking's sake. So that's kind of a challenge and the dilemma that we are having now. Thank you.
I think I fully understand the challenges with regards to teaching reputation, especially because a lot of universities also tell us the same thing. They do a lot of, very good quality teaching. They change lives of students. So why is that not showing up in the votes? And therefore, it is very, very hard. And then promotion is the other thing. Whenever we talk about branding, promotion to faculty members, to senior management, they go, oh, no, that's not for us. We're going to focus on research. And yes, it is very, very important to focus on your research. Yes, it's important to focus on your teaching as well. So then maybe work with the comms office is what some of the universities do. They go, oh, comms office, maybe perhaps you need to do something. But the truth is also that your researchers, they themselves are your ambassadors. And even though maybe promotion is not something that universities like to do, pick some key researchers. And like today with all of us here, you usually remember stories, right? You probably won't remember the data that I share, but you remember some of the stories that some of our speakers share. So researchers who are able to tell a story, you can ask them and feature them a little bit more, create that connection with certain audiences as well. So yes, I do fully understand. The university is very, very large. There are certain departments that focus on different things, so use them well, whilst the other parts then work on the great research and the great teaching as well. I think is probably a very quick summary. I know it doesn't really help as well in terms of what universities have to do, but yeah, that's just a summary from me.
So I think that's something I learned is actually of course we need to do some teaching excellence or research excellence, but sometimes some spotlight. We have the major. For example, if we listen to the music, some singers, they have some representative songs. Yeah, so if we can have that every year or something like that, just a spotlight, exposure more, and that will become something people will remember, and that will gain the attention. Okay, so I think due to the time limits, maybe we need to stop here, and let's send the speaker again.
Thank Professor Lee, Professor Yaguchi, and Ms. Lin. And now may we invite Professor Lee to present a token of appreciation to Professor Yaguchi and Ms. Lin. And okay, thank all the panelists, and thank you all very much for participating in today's session, and wishing you a nice weekend. Bye-bye.